What's up, YouTube? Yu-Gi-Oh! Tube. And we're going to stir the pot again. So if you don't know it, if you haven't checked out this video, go to my description right now. Check out Kanye West 315's video on stirring the pot. Saying, well, you know, I, in the minority here, think that glossy print actually came before wavy print. I am going to give you reasons why. And then I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen in the market. And that right there, those 22 minutes of that video, amazing. Amazing. Him and I, also known as Thugnoodles on Instagram, the greatest name of all time, Thugnoodles. I mean, come on. Him and I have talked about this subject before he posted that video, and there are so many more reasons why glossy came before wavy. We don't know that. I can't sit here and I can't say I have signed letter of approval from the president of Upper Deck and the president of Konami and the president of the United States that glossy came before wavy. I can't do that. But what we can do is simply discuss his video in my video, just kind of recap it quickly, try to condense it from 22 minutes down to, let's try and make this a 10 to 15 minute video. Discuss the differences, discuss why we think glossy came before wavy, and also discuss the future potential, right? So let's discuss the reasoning, why we both actually believe that there's a higher likelihood that glossy came before wavy. Well, first and foremost, great point made with the starter decks. Why has nobody thought of this? Starter deck Yugi, starter deck Kaiba. First edition starter decks only were glossy. There is no wavy first edition Blue Eyes or Dark Magician or anything from the decks in wavy. It's all glossy. Now, unlimited starter deck Kaiba and Yugi cards, they could be glossy. They could be wavy. What does that tell you? If wavy came first, wouldn't first edition decks have wavy cards? But instead, first edition starter deck Yugi and Kaiba cards are all glossy. They're not wavy. Instead, the only things that are wavy are the unlimited ones. So that has to tell you, well, they produced it glossy first, and then there was a mix of glossy wavy. Right? So that's point one. And I mean, that right there is solid enough evidence to me to make a very, very heavy case for that. And this is coming from people, him and I, we have a mix of both in our collections. I have a wavy box, I have a glossy box, I have wavy cards, I have glossy cards. But we're just trying to decide here what really came first. And no one's ever going to have a definitive answer. If someone does, that would be great, but the odds are no one's going to have a definitive answer. And these are the reasons why we think the likelihood and probability of glossy coming first are higher than wavy. Number 2, the Summon Skull sample card. Made in 2001, 3 months before Legend of Blue Eyes. Okay? And also before any of the starter decks. It was a sample card of Summon Skull, SDY Summon Skull, given out to distributors, given out to the Upper Deck Company employees, given out to the card shops that intended to sell the cards. These Summon Skulls were glossy. Were glossy. I mean, these are the first TCG English cards ever produced. Ever. And they are glossy. The first TCG English cards produced are glossy. Why wouldn't the glossy print have been first? Why would anyone think? Because that was something I noticed, right? When I picked up the sample Summon Skull, I said, this is a glossy card, right? This is bizarre. After I inspected it for grading and whatnot, I said, this is a glossy card. Why is this glossy? If this came second, why would sheets of this glossy card have been printed first before the decks came out, before Legend of Blue Eyes came out? They're in glossy. It's clear. I mean, that has to be as clear as possible, right? Number 3 was the fact that the only thing that was different with the first edition stamp was the glossy print had the weird bigger font on the box. And in every other box, Metal Raiders, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Pharaoh's Servant, all those other boxes, Magic Ruler, they all had that small first edition text, just like a wavy box's text. So ideally, it's safe to assume that Upper Deck and Konami did this first run that were glossy with the big text of first edition on the box, and then they said, okay, let's just revise that logo. It was a little too big. So they made it a little bit smaller. They put it on the wavy first edition boxes of Blue Eyes. Then they did it with Metal Raiders. Then they did it with Magic Ruler, Pharaoh's Servant. You could compare. Look at boxes. Go on eBay. Go online and look at first edition boxes, Metal Raiders, Pharaoh's Servant, Magic Ruler. And you can compare that to Blue Eyes. There's no reason for a box with a bigger font to be made after, to be changed to the bigger font from the smaller one, then be changed back to the small font. It would make a lot more sense if the first run had that big text font, first edition, and then they went to the condensed smaller one, and then from then they had the continuity on all of the sets and produced them in the same way. Right? I mean, it's endless. The amounts, the argument for glossy coming first, in my opinion, and in Mr. Noodles, Mr. Thugnoodles' opinion, aka Kanye West 315, Kanye, it makes sense. And this is just from an unbiased perspective. None of us have anything invested heavily into either one. We're just here saying, okay, well, let's look at the facts on the table. Let's look at what we can gather and make some sort of inference. Let's make some sort of hypothesis of why, given what we know, why one could go one way, one could go the other way. And is this to say that wavy print was produced in the same quantities that glossy print was? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Wavy print, in my opinion, was produced in a lower quantity because they said, oh my gosh, could you believe how well this sold? These glossy cards sold. And then they went to another warehouse, they produced them in wavy along with the unlimited cards and along with the unlimited cards of the decks and unlimited cards of Blue Eyes in wavy print as well. And so my opinion as well of this is something that wasn't noted in the video was, why would Konami or Upper Deck, why would they come out with a set checklist and give it to all these distributors and not put Gaia the Dragon Champion in it on the first run? Why would they wait to put Gaia the Dragon Champion in? This is a new game. It's an emerging game with a great show that was planned. Why? Why would Upper Deck or Konami release a product at first that was kind of missing a secret rare? Wouldn't they want to lead off on a good, solid impression, on a good start? If anything, there are two warehouses. Because one could argue the UPC is higher on the glossy, so you'd assume because if it's a higher number, it came after the lower number. Fair. But at the same time, I think at the very, very, very least, they were produced at the same time. And in the wavy ones, the wavy production, they just didn't have Gaia the Dragon Champion in it for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I do think that the print run was probably a little bit less. I do. Now, the counter-argument could be made for that as well. You know, people say, well, the people with wavy, they don't want to sell it. You know, they're kind of hoarding it, and they don't think, you know, that since the the perception is that wavy came first, no one wants to get rid of it, and everyone wants to sell the glossy. I do agree to some extent. I think there's more wavy out there than people like to think. I think that wavy isn't as rare as people think, but I certainly think that it is a rarer commodity than glossy. But at the same time, I think that glossy came before wavy. So it depends kind of on your flavor. You know, and you also look at the aesthetic appeal of the card. I personally prefer wavy. I think wavy looks nicer. It has that grittier, grainier texture. It looks more vintage. Compared to the glossy, it looks almost too modern for the first set of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? I think a lot of people can think of that too. You know, that wavy looks nicer. It looks more like a vintage. It feels more like a vintage card. And so there's that factor. So, you know, my thing is there shouldn't be 30-40% premiums put on wavy cards. In my opinion, I always, from the get-go, once I heard of wavy, glossy, I always said, you know what, wavy, I'd pay maybe 10 to 20% more, no more than 20%. Now you're seeing some cards 30+% in wavy. People are paying 30+% more for wavy. I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Kanye and think that, you know, right now the gap is here. There we go. The gap is here between glossy and wavy. I think over time, it's going to go like this. And it's going to be very close. I think wavy will always have some sort of premium. But I think that the premium that's being put on it right now is overvalued. So I think one of two things are going to happen now that we talk about the market here. Option one. Glossy prices rise. Glossy prices get closer to wavy, which is here. Glossy goes closer, 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 closer. Or option two is that wavy actually comes down. Wavy comes back to earth, approaches smaller premiums to glossy. So either one or two things are going to happen here over time, in my opinion. Either wavy is going to sputter, or glossy is going to see a slight increase. It's one of the two things. That's my opinion. It's totally my opinion. I could be wrong. People could say, you know what, Tim? Even if glossy came first, and I get what you're saying, wavy is perceived as rarer, right? And wavy looks nicer. It's more aesthetically pleasing. So I'm going to go with wavy. And that's fine. I'm just saying, for the knowledge, public knowledge here, there are people still saying wavy print is first print run. I wholeheartedly believe, after seeing all of the evidence, quote unquote, information, and looking at it, throwing it down on an invisible table, which is my brain, and analyzing it, I can't see it. I see glossy being the first run of Yu-Gi-Oh! Product. And I think the biggest things were the decks and Summon Skull. Why would those be wavy if they came after? Or why would those be glossy, excuse me, if wavy came first? Why would a sample starter deck card as well as starter decks be glossy if wavy came first? The sample card of Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the first ever cards produced, glossy. The decks, the first edition decks, only glossy. Unlimited decks, a mix of glossy and wavy. That's all you need to know, folks. Until next time, what do you think? What do you guys think? And first of all, Kanye West 315, I want to have you and me on this channel discussing this. And honestly, I want to have people that think wavy came first too on the channel, live stream, discussing this one topic. You know, let's take a half hour, let's take 40 minutes, and just get right into the grittiness of it, no pun intended, and get down to it. Because I want to discuss this, and I'm pumped. I'm ready to discuss this. Because I want to hear other opinions. And I mean, I think it's very important to see both sides of the coin. I have my opinion. He's got his opinion. She's got her opinion. It's got its opinion. Everybody's got opinions. But it's what we ultimately think. The fact is, people are misinformed. They're saying, oh, if it's wavy, it came first. That is totally. And people saying, if it's glossy, it came first. That's totally incorrect, too. We don't know that. But for me, I'm going to make that assumption based on the information that I have. What do you guys think? Let me know. Are you interested in the live stream? Do you want to have other people on here talking about glossy, wavy, first print, second print? Let me know. Until next time, have a great day. Yu-Gi-Oh! Tube, signing out.